Hello and welcome to a brand new episode. I'm Shiron91 and today I'm going to talk about one of my childhood games from a very long time ago, X-Men Legends. But before I start with the review, I want to give a little bit of a backstory about the X-Men. The X-Men are a group of mutants led by Professor Charles Xavier, a mutant with a dream that one day mutants and humans can live together in peace and harmony. However, in the Marvel Universe, mutants are hated and feared by humans because they have mutant abilities by having a simple gene called the X gene. But it's up to Charles Xavier and his team to see if they can try to help humans see that mutants aren't all bad as they call them out to be. Unfortunately, another group known as the Brotherhood of Mutants despises humans and wants to rule over them as Homo superiors. In my eyes, I grew up with X-Men when I was a little kid, and I admit I wasn't born in the 1980s. But I was able to see reruns whenever I got the chance, when I was a little kid anyway. And even though I never owned any X-Men merchandise like comic books, toys, etc., but despite my lack of X-Men merchandise, I still love the series because it does tackle some very personal feelings and subjects, like being ridiculed for being different just because you have the ability of shooting beams out of your eyes, or flying, or phasing through walls. And to commemorate how much I love X-Men made by Stan the Man Lee and Jack Kirby, I'm going to try my best to express my love for the series, but also give it a fair review. Easier said than done, but I'm going to do my best on this review. So, without further ado, let's play X-Men Legends for the PS2. Because that's the only version I have to work with here.
Simulate battle situations from the surface of the moon to 1,000 feet below sea level.
X-Men Legends was released for the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox, all released in 2004. Then it was released for the N-Gage, released on 2005. Each of the games on the platforms all had been rated differently, with the Xbox version being the better version. Second was the GameCube version. Third was the PS2 version. Oh dear. And the N-Gage was the lowest ranking version. However, they are all well made, and whatever version you may have were all good on their own merits. However, the version that I will be showing you is the PlayStation 2 version, because that was the version I was more familiar with, and at the time, when I was little, I had a PlayStation 2 system. No GameCube version, no Xbox version, and no N-Gage version. Because I never heard of that system.
Today on RVN World News, we examine the growing mutant menace. It's a concern of worldwide proportions.
The story, based in X-Men Legends, takes place in Earth-7964. According to the Marvel Database Wiki anyway. The story focuses around a young teenager named Allison Cressmere, a mutant on the verge of discovering her powers to generate lava, being forced into a truck by the anti-mutant group. But Mystique and Blob pop in and try to kidnap her, for whatever reason. But unfortunately, their plans failed as Wolverine and Cyclops rescue her and take her back to the X-Mansion, not only to protect Allison, but to help her control her mutant abilities that just started to surface. Of course, we are allowed to explore the Xavier Institute and talk with the other X-Men. It's not much, fair to say, but I can give it points for having a good start. In all honesty, I feel like the tutorial modes in the first level in New York City were kind of misplaced. I remember one time I was close to dying as Wolverine when trying to save Allison, and I didn't even know how to heal myself. Good thing I bought the game with the instruction manual. Otherwise, I would have died so early, and it would have damaged Wolverine's reputation and made him the laughingstock of the X-Men. Thank you, instruction manual.
Freeze, mutie!
Hey, bub, you should have called in sick today.
Why is all this happening to me?
Allison, it's okay.
Later on down the road, I feel like the story gets a little bit off track. Seeing Allison struggle to control her mutant abilities is kind of short-lived, because after you save her and talk around the mansion, you're going to the mission to go to the heart facility. Then after the mission, Allison goes into the danger room, ends up destroying it, and she feels bad about it, but then after another mission, she learns to control her powers, and Professor Xavier says, I think she's ready to go. Throw her into future missions and let her grow at her rate. Now, to be fair, I think this is a good idea, letting Allison join on missions that will help her control her abilities a little more. But personally, I feel like she controlled it. And we're not even halfway through the game. You get her after the third mission with the Morlocks, and I haven't even got to any of those yet. The story, I personally believe, was sort of in the middle for me. Not good, not bad, but tolerable to say the least. However, what I can't excuse is how after you save Allison from the attack from the Brotherhood, it's formed into a routine sometimes. And this is coming from somebody who is used to routines. Here's how the formula goes. X mansion, briefing, mission, X mansion. Rinse and repeat. The formula will change from time to time, but there are so few in between, and the progression of this pretty boring on how the game goes on. All it does is just simply stretch out the plot with some side things here and there, and there are 4 words that I think this question should never, ever come out of my lips. When does it end? I will admit, I played this game a lot when I was a little kid, and I loved it. But now that I'm older, I honestly feel like that this game has some interesting concepts, and I feel like they just dropped the ball for me. I guess that's what it means to be a critic.
That's understandable.
However, if there is one positive thing I'd like to say about this game, is that the voice work on the characters in the game are pretty spot on. I mean, Patrick Stewart voicing Xavier, I'm really glad they did. But my question is, why didn't they have Sir Ian McKellen voice Magneto? Instead we have the late Tony Jay voicing Magneto. Rest in peace, good sir. But am I bothered about it? Not really. I actually like Tony Jay as the voice of Magneto. I just wish it was Ian McKellen, but I can't really ask for a lot. How can I? I eat whatever is on my plate, and I move on. Speaking of voice works, there are a couple of issues that I did have with the audio in general. They weren't game-breaking ones, but they did annoy me sometimes. The audio will sometimes cut out when the characters are talking. And no, I didn't press any buttons at all. Now that doesn't happen a lot, but it will happen on some occasions. And even though this may sound like a little nitpick, some of the sounds on the other stuff or characters are kind of muffled, but like I said, nothing too major. I can look past the muffled sounds on some of the characters' conversations, but the audio cutting out annoyed me.
That's understandable.
Want to know what else is cool? The FMVs. They're very well done on some parts here and there. There aren't really a whole lot, but it's enough for me to enjoy. I personally think the FMVs are very well done, especially for a PS2 game. They are a little wonky, but it's passable. However, I question the game's graphics in-game. The engine used on X-Men Legends was made by Vicarious Visions Alchemy, or it is commonly referred to now as Vicarious Visions, aka the same company responsible for making the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy 13 years later. So I gotta say to Vicarious Visions, you guys have come a long way. However, the game was developed by Raven Software and published by Activision. Raven Software was founded in 1990 by the brothers Brian and Steve Rapper, and they were independent until they were acquired by Activision. They've been known for making the Hexen series, and were also responsible for using the same engines for Marvel Ultimate Alliance and X-Men Legends 2, its sequel a year later. And before you say it's supposed to be a simple game, this is the 6th generation console, for crying out loud. The character models in them actually remind me of Gauntlet Dark Legacy, and I love Gauntlet Dark Legacy. So should I love X-Men Legends? I don't love it, but certainly. To be fair, the graphics are pretty dated and not very impressive, but it's okay. The same goes with the levels. The levels themselves are also okay. And yes, you do travel back to them sometimes. Seriously, I went to the sewer levels 3 times. It sure made me feel like I was playing an RPG game, isn't it? Oh, wait. It is an action RPG. Oops. At least the levels I've traveled through the game have really good music. The soundtrack, in my opinion, is very well done, especially how it feels in New York City. I seriously feel like I'm hearing cars and sirens going off on the background. That's pretty cool. And the previously mentioned sewer levels, it also has amazing soundtracks, from the dripping water onto the other surfaces, and the sound effects of you walking in water and in other people's filth. Yuck. I'll be honest, I like to feel immersive within the world, but I don't feel like I need to feel that immersive in the levels. One of my favorite levels to go through is the Astral Planes, which has some really awesome fighting music. I could rock out to that stuff all day. And yes, this game does have music, but only when fights appear, and it's very well done if it feels a little stockish. But still, a lot of interesting stuff to hear. Which now leads me to yet another complaint about the game. The gameplay. Okay, in the manual there are 5 combat basics. Triple hit, knockback, pop up, trip, and stun. But all I did was mash on the triple hit combo than anything else. And if I really want to go all Street Fighter in this game, I randomly press random buttons to see what happens. There are times I do use other characters' mutant abilities in X-Men Legends game. There are only 2 types of bars in the game. Red to symbolize the health, and blue to symbolize the energy. Energy is used to help cast your chosen mutant with their mutant abilities. Kind of like Final Fantasy, but with X-Men. And I don't know about you, but I had some problems with the boss fights in general. The worst one had to be Avalanche, and my least favorite boss fight of all time, Marrow. The first part of it anyway. And I swear, every time I fought her in the first boss fight, she ends up jumping away faster than I can even catch up with her. She is a coward and uses cheap tactics to get her out of situations. To me, it was by pure luck I was able to beat her, thank goodness. I was glad that her second boss fight was a lot more fair, in my opinion, anyway. Following off topic of the fight, the Acolytes I felt like were very frustrating to fight too. They always throw punches at you and strike you down when you're knocked off your feet and on the ground. Seriously, they fight so cheaply it's not even funny. I will give them this. The characters in the games are pretty dang good and the level ups are always awesome. Whenever your character levels up, you can spend points on stats and skills to help them become better mutants and take down the enemies faster. So all I can say is to you guys, grind for levels. And the Danger Room will definitely help you out. You see, throughout the game you can collect 3 types of items. Sketchbooks, to look at concept art. Comic books, to look at the covers of the comic books and actually give stat boosts to the heroes of that kind. And Danger Room training simulator discs, allowing you to perform tasks like sabotage, defend, protect, combo training. It's pretty useful if you really want to help your X-Man become stronger. And the best part about it, every time you level up, the characters that you don't choose also get leveled up. So it's a win-win. Final Fantasy, you can learn something from them. The Legend of Dragoon actually did the same thing if I can remember correctly. So no character in that game feels left behind. And they can get stronger along with the heroes. And the X-Men are exactly like that. So in a sense, the game is also like the Legend of Dragoons, but with X-Men. However, this leads me to yet another complaint. The AI is really mixed with what it wants to do. Sometimes they will help you take out enemies. Sometimes they will not. Sometimes they will wait for you when you need to do something. Sometimes they will not. The AI itself is definitely a mixed bag for me because sometimes they will at least help out with you on situations. Sometimes they won't. On the back of the box itself, you could play with 1 to 2 players, but with a multi-tap for the PS2, you could play up to 1 to 4 players. Overall, there are 14 X-Men to choose from. 15 if you count Professor X, but he's only available during the Astral Plane missions. So there's that. What's cool is that you can choose from 14 of your favorite mutants, like Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Jean Grey, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, you name it. Even the new character, Allison Cressmere, who goes by the codename Magma. And speaking of Allison Cressmere, I do say she is one of my favorite characters out of the bunch to play as. And like I said, her development is pretty impressive. Allison goes from a scared mutant who doesn't want anything to do with her powers, to a confident girl that not only has control over her powers completely, but has saved the world. Voice actress Cree Summers really brings out Allison's character. How she does it though, I don't think I'll ever know. Cree Summers, you nailed it like a boss. Like I said, the voice work in this game is really good. They even have some of the veteran voice actors playing their parts. Steve Bloom as Wolverine, Gray DeLuise as Mystique, and the previously mentioned Patrick Stewart as Professor Mother Flipping X himself. It's just a real shame that all you get for beating the game are just skins. When you beat the game, there's not even a lot of skins. Not even for Jubilee or Rogue. Seriously. I mean, after you beat the game's final boss, all you're treated to is the news reporter named Deborah Owens from RVN World News explaining what happened, then credits, and after that, skins are unlocked. Also, RVN News, give Deborah Owens a promotion for putting up with so much crap. Seriously, she's been interrupted 3 times on her news reports, and to see her finally be able to get a chance to report her news and not be interrupted, Deborah Owens, Employee of the Month, best TV anchor ever.
I'm Deborah Owens for RVN World News. Have a pleasant evening.
Okay, despite this game being a 2004 game, I personally still like this game. It's not perfect by all means. The issues with this game do stick out like a sore thumb, but it deserves a little bit of recognition because the gameplay itself was used in that game and its sequel, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and that game's sequel. I don't want to give it like a low rating, and I feel like it doesn't deserve a high score either. So in this case, my final rating for this game is a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely worth a look in my opinion. The game itself is not perfect. However, despite its imperfections, it's what makes the game unique. I loved this game as a kid, I won't deny that. But now that I'm older, my opinions on it have definitely changed. I'll still pop the game in from time to time because of how nostalgic this game is, faults and all. I just wish there was a little bit more variety with its skins and the character choices the game has. Despite that, it is a simple game, but it's simply a good game. So good in fact that they actually received the Greatest Hit Edition for the PlayStation 2, the Player's Choice for the GameCube, and the Platinum Hits for the Xbox. The X-Men Legend games aren't that expensive on Amazon. Yeah, they'll range around $28, but it's worth it. Or if you want to go the cheaper route, I suggest going to Lukey Games and buying them off there. I've talked about Lukey Games before on my Final Fantasy VIII review, and I highly recommend you give it a look. If you want really good used games for a good price, Lukey Games is where you need to go. You know, just looking at the box right now, it makes me rethink of my childhood. When I first bought this game, I was like 13 or 14, and I played this game to no end. And it was because of this very game, it made me love the X-Men and Marvel even more. I'll leave with this. Marvel Ultimate Alliance wouldn't be the game it was if it wasn't for X-Men Legends 1 and 2. I guess that means I gotta talk about its sequel now, don't I? Thank you all so much for watching my video. And if you like it, please hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell to let you know when more videos are coming out. Also, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch to keep up with everyday activities. Now, I'm going to make a little bit of an announcement right here. I won't be making videos for a while because I'll be in the process of moving. So, it will be a while. But when I get everything all settled down and ready to go, I'll get back to work. In the meantime, I'm Shiron91, and I hope to see you all on the next episode. Happy gaming, everybody!
That's understandable.